Hello, everyone. Over the weekend was the Michigan Class Championship. I was playing in Section B, and I had one great game that I would like to share with everyone. I'm going to try to make this a little bit quicker because I made a 20-minute video of this where the sound wasn't working already, and this is take two. I'd like to keep it under 20. Seems a bit long, even if it is a pretty game. So started out, I was black, and they started off with the Rai Lopez, so I went into the Schliemann, the Janice Schliemann gambit that I like to play against that. I've been working on this, and I think it's got some good lines. I've been performing really well with it, although I am a little concerned that it does seem like there's a lot of forcing lines for white if they know what they're doing. That not necessarily gets black into a bad position or anything, but it does kind of allow them to suck all the life out of all the fun out of the opening if they don't want to go into something wild and crazy. It's also, I've been noticing, a little bit stressful to go into this because, as you'll see, it gets to some really interesting positions that can be stressful. So in a longer tournament, it might be a little bit energy draining, but I can't really argue with the results I've been getting. They go into the main line. This is probably the most dangerous for black if white knows what they're doing. There's a lot of ways that I could go wrong here, but thankfully I did remember at least the first couple of moves. And here is like the first spot that like black can go really wrong. The instinctive d5 is actually a bit of a mistake. The evaluation starts to going up, as you can see. And it's probably even worse than this weak computer reflects. Just a simple line like this, and black's in trouble. For the queen comes in check. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that black can just die, and I think they're even. I guess they're doing all right material, but like they're not going to have a fun game. Just their king open like that. So I did not go for that, and instead played knight to f6, and they defended. This is all pretty common. I think the more pressing line it would have been to play knight takes, but nothing wrong with this really. I did get, because they didn't take first right away, that gave me a chance to develop d5 to open up lines for my white squared bishop. And encouraged them to take, and I took back with the queen. This is all theory so far. I'm still well in my book prep, but they had already used up a chunk of time because apparently they weren't familiar with this opening. They brought out the bishop to attack the queen, and here I knew that the book line was to go queen g6. I just was trying to make sure that I calculated out, because that does look really scary to go into before I jumped into it. And I wasn't remembering the line here, and I just saw that like I got a lot pointed at me here, right? Like I didn't want no, yeah, I guess it's here that I didn't remember king d8, but I just saw that like I'm going to be down the exchange here. I guess even like the main line, and without feeling more comfortable and confident with my knowledge, I didn't really want to sack the exchange this early, especially since I wasn't playing well the previous day. But I guess the computer says that I'd actually be fairly well off here, and I can believe it. There's all my pieces are aimed at them, and their pieces are kind of just organized and in the corners, and I should be able to get a bit of an attack to more than justify being down the exchange. But I did not go for that, and I went for queen f5, diverging from my prep, because I just couldn't really remember that and was a little afraid to go into something that sharp without remembering all the lines. And this felt pretty good and solid, and I just wanted to get my king to safety here. So he castles, I bring the bishop out, opening up for castling. And here, I'm feeling really good with this position. I've completed the opening. I've got my king to safety, relative safety. It's never too safe without an f-pawn, but safe enough. And I do like that the f-pawn's open so that I can get a lot of pressure aimed right at his king. Like, that's a lot coming at him really quick now if he doesn't play carefully. Um, and here they made the first big mistake of the game. I get that they didn't want my knight to jump into here because they can't really take without opening up horrible attack. But unfortunately, that also the knight could be undermined in a different method by pushing the pawn. That knight's the only thing protecting the bishop, so now I have two pieces under attack, and they get one move. I'm a little rusty on math. It's been a while since I was in school, but one move is kind of hard to defend two weaknesses a lot of times, I find. They tried trading, but I was able to take back with the pawn to keep the attack going, and this actually opened up a third attack. So this was kind of a really pretty position, I thought. And they defended one of the pieces by getting out of the way for the check, so I just moved to the corner, nice calm, and they still have two pieces under attack. They spent, like, this is a mistake here again, but they spent like 20 minutes before they made it. It's I didn't really ask them about it, but I've done this myself, and I feel like they probably did the whole think long, think wrong sort of thing, where they go through and just consider every sort of line that they can think of, and just get more and more upset that like nothing's working because they are already in a losing position. And eventually they'll come up with a new idea that they didn't think of before, and they'll just move it without thinking it through to realize if it's actually worse, just because they've already just spent so much time and are upset with all the moves that don't work, is my guess what happened there. I just took the rook because why not? Being up a free rook, and my attack is still completely underway, and my king's so much safer than theirs. Like, this is tremendous. I'm shocked that it doesn't say like an announced mate at this point almost. They brought the bishop back. They're trying to get their own attack. That's all they can do. And I just slip over here. Right here, like, I would be glad to trade queens at this point. I'm a rook up. Going down to an endgame being a rook up is a pretty easy win. And if they don't trade queens, I'm trying to play rook takes knight and then take the bishop, because two pieces is better than one. I do remember that much from school. So I would have been glad to go into that as well. To try to stop that, they kick the queen. If I were to move the queen, I don't know, like somewhere safe-ish, then I would no longer be attacking the bishop and wouldn't be able to trade the rook for two pieces, is my guess. They also want to get rid of the pin so that they can move the knight without having to trade queens. But I decided to side-slip the queen back here to keep the pressure. I want to trade the rook for two pieces if I can, and if not, that's still a lot of pieces aimed at their king in case some other tactic happens. They brought their queen in, and I could have gone for that here, like I was talking about, but I also saw that this looked really good, because even better than trading a rook for two pieces might be just winning a piece outright. If things happened, they'd have to deal with the checkmate threats or even potentially losing the queen. So I took the pawn, and they can't safely take it here. They wanted to block my queen from getting in and checkmating them, so they blocked with the bishop. And I brought the rook over because I want all my pieces to join in the fun, and I was really proud of this move. Like, it would have been so easy to just continue on with my attacking ideas, but I was able to calmly realize that all my pressure is going to stay there. It's not going away, and I can bring in another piece to put in even more pressure and help with the attack without having to start letting the advantage evaporate or trade off. And things were looking really nice here. I didn't really like this, but like there wasn't really any good options for them at this point. But there's a lot of pins going on all of a sudden. So I decided to add to it with a third pin. I guess 4 if you count the knight to this pawn even. Like, that's a lot of pressure I've got going on, and something's going to fall apart. I could have also brought the knight here, but that just seemed more fun, opening up the king a little bit more, and I was hoping to get a checkmating threat. They took, and I slipped in with the nice little fork here, taking advantage of that pin that we were just talking about. They blocked the check, and I took the piece. And I'm only up a rook here, only, but yeah, the attack's just horrendous, and they're in a lot of trouble. They just got the queen out of the way, and I brought the rook over. This was another move that amused me. They can't take the rook because they're pinned from the queen, and if they move the knight out of the way, did I do a line with that? Okay, so like if they move the knight out of the way, that's just going to end up being a forced checkmate. Throning there. Okay, it's saying like queen f3 to delay the mate. So yeah, that check. Check. Still guarded by that bishop. Forced move, and checkmate would be like one of the common, like the lines I looked at, but I was able to calculate the mate at that point if they would have went into that. Instead, they kept the knight there and brought their rook on over, hoping that I would miss the mate in one and just try to take the knight. I already demonstrated I didn't really want to trade queens, so that's a good try, but like it's all just crushing here, and I just gave up on the checkmate plans I had hoped for and traded queens, figuring that rook and a knight should be enough for me to win that game. Rook, knight, and pawn, my mistake. There was a couple more moves. But they resigned once I infiltrated the 7th rank and was about to start gobbling up their pawns. But yeah, that was my great game from the tournament. I was really happy with it, and thanks for watching.